pace a lot, Jesse, I'm sorry. That's just how I move around a lot. So my grandma used to share this story with me when I was a little girl growing up into my teens. To the point that I would be like, Grandma, tell me the crow story. And she would. And then it kind of evolved into my own life after my grandma passed away. So this is a story that's personal that I'm going to share with you, but it is part of storytelling. My grandma was a great storyteller. So it begins. My grandmother, she lived on the reserve of Christian Island, and her back step was a straight, like a little small square deck with a straight step down to a path, and the path went out into the bush. And there was all kinds of paths that came off this one path. And she would take these trails almost daily on her daily walks. So one day, she put on her blue coat, and she put on her hat, her fall hat, and she decided that she was going to go out for a walk, like she did almost every other day. Didn't think anything of it. It was just one of her natural rituals. So she goes out for this walk, and she's gone for about an hour and a half. As she was out walking, she was listening to the birds singing in the trees, and she always recognized the crows when they were around. The crows were significant in my grandmother's life. I believe they were her spirit guides. They were constantly around. They always came to say hello. She even had one crow that would come into her kitchen and caw at her from time to time, and then off he would go, fly out. She'd leave her back door open, and he'd come in, say hello, and then off he'd go. He did that several times. And this is true. This is all true. So that one day she was walking, and she hears the crows like all flitting around, and they're getting kind of loud and obnoxious, so she acknowledges them. Hi crows, how you doing today? Just out for my daily walk. You can tag along if you want. And then she just continues on her walk, and she comes home. She gets home, and she takes off her blue coat, her blue fall coat. She takes off her hat, and she rolls up her sleeves, and she realizes the bracelet that she put on this morning is no longer there. This bracelet was given to her by a friend who had since passed away, and it had those blue stones in it, and it was silver. It meant a lot to her. So she was really upset that she lost this bracelet on her walk. She knew she had it when she walked out the door. So she decided that she was going to go back out and get her bracelet. So she puts her hat back on, and she puts her coat back on, and she walks out onto her little back deck, and the crows are just by the dozens in the trees, and they're going, caw, 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 caw. And she's like, okay, crows, I've lost my bracelet, you're going to help me find it. Let's go. So off she goes. She walks down her steps. She walks up the hill into the bush and follows the trail. And she's walking along. And she just keeps walking, and she's following the trail. But the trails have so many forks, and she comes to a fork in the road. She's like, I take these trails every day. I don't know what trail I took this morning. I wasn't paying attention. I was just walking and looking at the trees and listening to the birds. And maybe I went this way. So she starts walking, and then all of a sudden the crows start going, caw, 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 caw. I must be going the wrong way, because in Ojibwe, Colleen means go. So she stops, she backs up, she's like, well, I'm going to go this way. She starts going this way. And she continues walking, and she's walking along, and the trail kind of becomes non-existent. And she can't really see the trail anymore, so she's not sure which way she went, so she starts walking this way, and the crows start freaking out again. Caw, 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 caw. Okay, I must stop. So she stops where she is, and she looks around, and she sees the trail. Oh, there's the trail. I can pick up where I left off. So she moves over to the trail, and she gets back on the trail, and the crows calm down, and she's walking along. And then as she's walking and she's looking, all of a sudden, the crows just start going wild. Caw, 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 caw. And they are going wilder than they were ever before. So she stops, she freezes. There's no fork in the path. She's on the path. She's not lost. She looks down, and at the tip of her toe is her bracelet. So she picks up her bracelet. She miigwech on deck. Thank you, crows, for helping me find my bracelet. And she turns around and she goes home. She told this story to me so many times growing up, I thought she made it up. She was such a good storyteller. I didn't know it was true. And then one day, I think I was about 12 or 13, I was like, Grandma. She's like, yeah. I'm like, do you know the story about the crows? And she's like, yeah. I said, is that true? Of course it's true. She got so offended. She was so angry with me. And then from that day on, anyone, if I had a friend over, I'd be like, Grandma, Grandma, tell the story of the crows. Tell them the story of the crows. When my husband met my grandma, Grandma, tell Matt the story of the crows. So my husband knows the story of the crows. And he knows how important the crows have been to me because of how important they were to my grandmother. So time goes on, and the crows continue their presence in my grandmother's life, and she passes away. And that day, on Christian Island, it was windy, it was fall, and it was very, very cold. Like the wind had a very cold chill to it. And we were up at the funeral at our rec center because it was a rather large funeral. And my grandmother's wish was that all of her grandchildren would go to church with her. Most of us are not Catholic. And I was realistic, and I said to her at one point, you know, Grandma, that's never going to happen. You're never going to get all your grandkids in church. The one day you're going to have all your grandkids at church with you is the day of your funeral. And she said, yeah, you're right. You're probably right. And she's like, so when that happens, you make sure that they all sing me, You Are My Sunshine. So on the day of her funeral, we all got together. I called up all of the grandkids. We were missing one. But most of us were there, all except for one. Even the great-grandchildren were all there. And we all got up, and my aunt's husband played the guitar, and we all sang My Grandma, You Are My Sunshine. So we walk out of the funeral, and the sun is shining, and the wind has died down, and we're following the casket down to the boat where the casket gets taken over as part of community practice to be the body cremated and then brought back to the island for burial at a later date. So we walk out of the hall, and it's sunny, it's warm, the wind has died down, and we're following the casket, and I'm walking with my aunt, and I'm walking with my brother. And my aunt says, wow, it got really nice all of a sudden. And my brother's like, that's because we sang You Are My Sunshine. And then there was a crow in the tree. Caw-caw, caw-caw, just a single crow. And I said, yep, there we go. That's Grandma telling us that, you know, we fulfilled our promise. We did what she wanted on the day of her funeral. We were all there. We were all in the presence of a priest, and we all sang her You Are My Sunshine. And so we walked down to the boat, and as my grandma is going over for her last trip on the ferry in bodily form, there's a rainbow going over the ferry. So it was a very beautiful day, and like all of the signs just came together that, you know, my grandma was so connected to the Creator, even though she was Catholic. And then time goes on, and it's about a year later, and I'm pregnant with my youngest, Avalon, and my obstetrician is here in Barrie, but I live in Midland. So we didn't drive at the time, my husband and I, so we hired a ride to bring us down to my appointment. And I walk out of the house, and I walk into my friend's vehicle, and there's a crow sitting on the branch just over top of the truck. And it caws at me, caw, caw! Hi, crow, how you doing? I said, say hi to my grandma for me, and then into the truck I get. And then my husband comes out, and he sees the crow, and the crow caws at him too, caw, caw! And he says, hi, Graham. And into the truck he gets, and off we go down to Barrie. And I get to my appointment, and the lady's looking at me, and she's like, you don't have an appointment today. And I was like, I was sure I had an appointment today. And she's looking, she's like, no, your appointment's tomorrow.
Oh no.
So the crow wasn't saying hi, the crow was saying no. Thank you, that's my story.